We're working on currently stabilizing the vessel. We are actively dewatering the vessel into the tank barge that you see. That barge contaminated water will then be appropriately discharged into a proper reception facility. But through this dewatering, we're also working on a fire overhaul and vessel assessment. So we cannot confirm that the fire is out yet because we have not completed the assessment of the entire vessel. So we're working on that. That is one of our main goals today. With that, so in addition to the assessment of the vessel, we're also trying to figure out how to safely tow this vessel from the Navy Pier to the next reception facility, where we'll be taking it for kind of a final decision on what ends up with the vessel. So here again today, but we're dewatering to stabilize. Our main priority is to stabilize, to ensure we can safely get people on and off that vessel, to then assess and confirm the fire is out, and then work to develop a plan to safely tow it. We've been amazed at the response by our port partners in this region to support kind of the efforts ongoing. It's not just the folks you see behind me today that have responded, but it's also all of our regional partners, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Hampton. They were also instrumental in fighting the fire, as well as the Victory Rover, who, again, I think we need to highlight the fact there were no lives lost. So we are very fortunate we're standing here today only dealing with a vessel fire and not dealing with any lives lost. So with that, I'll pass it over to Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning. My name is Scott Smith. I'm the Senior Vice President of Hornblower Group. First of all, on behalf of Hornblower Group and the Spirit of Norfolk, we'd like to thank our crew, Naval Base Norfolk, the Coast Guard, local fire departments, and the passenger vessel Victory Rover for helping assist us evacuate the vessel last Tuesday afternoon, where we got all passengers off safely. Safety is our first priority when it comes to our crew and our passengers. We've been operating in Norfolk since 1978, and we will continue to do so safely and to meet the needs of our customers. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. I'm Chip Fowler, the city manager in the city of Norfolk. I just wanted to stop by on behalf of the mayor and the city council to really just extend our appreciation and acknowledge some of the folks that were instrumental here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read off a list because it is a long list of folks that really all pitched in to help on this. First of all, we definitely want to thank Captain Dees, the port, all the Navy personnel. The Navy personnel were amazing in responding to this incident and in responding so quickly. Thank you to the United States Coast Guard for their quick response on that day as well. I have with me today Chief Tobacco. Obviously, I want to thank our men and women in Norfolk Fire Rescue, as well as Hampton and Chesapeake, for the folks that they sent. I also have with me Jim Reddick, who's my Director of Emergency Preparedness and Response. You know, we prepare often and game plan for these types of events. You never quite know if they're ever going to happen, but when they do, we're really happy that we have prepared and the preparation paid off. I want to thank Moran Towing and the folks in the tug crews and all those folks that assisted that day. Their efforts to tamp down the fire pretty early on, I think, paid tremendous dividends. I think as many have mentioned, and all have mentioned, I think, over the last couple days in the media and in news reports, we really owe the Victory Rover, the owners Tom Van Benscoten and Brooke Smith, and that crew on the Victory Rover that day, just absolute massive amounts of thanks. I don't think there's any question that they saved lives that day. Finally, I think it goes without saying, we also want to recognize the efforts of the crew with Hornblower and on the Spirit of Norfolk. Everyone we've talked with at the city level and all the folks I think some of you have interviewed in the media have said how calm and collected and cool all the crew was that day in dealing with this situation. How orderly the passengers were and so on. And really the small children and folks on there deserve a thank you as well for remaining so calm and collected and really being so brave and handling what could have been an extremely terrifying situation. Obviously, at the city level, on behalf of the mayor and everyone, this is an iconic ship, and so it's really disheartening to see the scene behind us here. We know there have been so many memories made over the years on this vessel. While today is a somber day, we look forward to working with Hornblower and the folks in their ownership to bring back cruises in our beautiful harbor as quickly as possible. I'm going to thank you all for your attention and thank everybody again behind me for everything they did in making sure that day wasn't more tragic than what we have here. Thank you.
So now we'll open it for questions. Mr. Smith, I have a question. I'm Andy Fox with Wavy TV. The first reports were that the first sign of trouble was the smell of burning rubber. My question is, why wasn't the first sign an alarm going off, a smoke detector going off, something that alerted everyone that there was something wrong? And was there some type of fire retardant system inside where this fire started? And the first reports preliminarily were the engine. Can you confirm?
So I can say that we followed protocol that is established by us as well as the Coast Guard. There's an ongoing investigation with the National Transportation Safety Board and the Coast Guard that we are cooperating fully.
But was there some type of smoke detector in there? Was it to code?
Our vessels are all to code and inspected by the U.S. Coast Guard on an annual basis to ensure that we are.
Can you explain why there wasn't some type of a smoke detector sign to let us know that something was wrong?
Our vessels are up to Coast Guard regulations. We keep them such, and we will continue to do so.
Well, let him finish. I'm finished.
We'll continue to do so. We meet all Coast Guard regulations on our vessels.
But you really didn't answer my question about why wasn't there some type of a smoke detector, some type of an alarm?
Our crew followed procedures and evacuated everybody safely, no loss of life, and I want to thank them for that professionally, the training and professionalism of our crew. Thank you.
Next question,
I have a
please.
question.
Can
Hi.
you say, sorry, could you please state your name and agency who you're with as well, please? Sorry.
Yep. For the same gentleman, my name is Penny Canary, reporter WTKR News 3. Like Chip mentioned, this is an iconic ship. People have bookings, people plan to be on. I know you guys mentioned you're trying to bring in another ship, but when can that happen? If it doesn't get here in time, will people be refunded?
We are working as quickly as possible to bring another ship to the area. We've already identified one. We'll work with the Coast Guard to do what we call a new to zone inspection, and we will try to minimize any impact to our guests from that perspective.
While you wait for it to get here, can people expect a ticket refund?
We are in contact with all of our guests through our team. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Anna from Channel 13. I have a question for Captain Stockwell. Yes, ma'am. I know that there's still a lot of time until you can really assess the damage, but is there, any sign that there's any fuel leaking into the water regarding this incident?
We haven't seen any observable sheen right now, so we do not believe we have any active discharge. But as you can see behind me, there's a boom. We're working to put a boom in place to really minimize any threat. So we are in a dynamic response. We're dewatering and we are assessing. So it is a potential, but again, we're planning for that capability. So thank you.
And I'm not sure if you can answer this or if anybody else can, but we were hearing from Captain Sickles saying that the fire may have originated in the engine room. Is that still an accurate description that we're hearing today?
So all indications are yes, but again, there is a joint Coast Guard and TSB investigation ongoing.
Captain, since we have some time, Captain, can you explain
Excuse me,
why
Andy?
it took so long
Andy,
to put the fire out?
Excuse me, Andy, you've already asked some
anyone
other
else?
questions.
Well,
Can we
just
please
let her
have
answer
some
that.
other?
Why did it take so long to put the fire out? Over, 24 hours.
It was. So vessel fires are exceptionally challenging. So what we have to balance is the fire versus the stability of the vessel. And that's just the challenge of any maritime response and any maritime fire, is that we can only put so much water on until we lose stability and the vessel capsizes and sinks. We were working, and that was one of the highest priority was keeping our responders safe. Below that was maintaining the stability of that vessel. We made very conscious decisions on how much water we were going to add to the inside of that vessel and to maintain the stability. Where we were working to keep it afloat. So I think we're actually at a decent spot today where the vessel is floating. We're actively dewatering, and yes, it took a while to put the fire out, but all in all, no one was injured, and we're not dealing with a more complex salvage than we are right now.
On that note, there's 5,300 pounds or gallons of diesel. Is that making its way into the water? How are you making sure the environmental impacts of this aren't too bad?
So that we've also looked at the environmental side. We've always concurrently looked at safety, salvage, and environment. We've been monitoring the situation. There are people here dedicated to the environment. We have a team dedicated to ensure the safety of the environment. We haven't seen an active discharge, but again, we are planning for it. We're also trying to figure out if that fuel's still on board or if it was consumed in the fire. So that will be assessed as we move into this next stage of seeing what's on board, left on board the vessel.
So we don't know if the diesel's contained as of now.
It's on board.
Okay.
Well, we haven't seen an active release or an active sheen into the water.
Thanks.
Captain Stockwell, Captain Stone with the Virginia pilot. Can you tell me how close the ship got to sinking or how much it was submerged at any point? There were reports that it was like there was a risk of sinking.
It's been a very challenging response. Yes, we've been at times very worried about the stability, and at times we were over the rub rail on parts of the vessel. So it's been exceptionally challenging to try to manage the stability, the safety of our responders, and where we stand today.
To clarify, the rub rail meaning like the rubber on the side.
So the white versus the black on the paint, well, it's hard to see right now, it's a little burnt, but especially on the stern, you see where actually the deck comes up. Part of that portion had some water coming on board.
And also, can you establish the timeline of how long kids were on the ship while the fire was active before they were disembarked?
I don't have the specifics for the exact response time, but I do know that within a very short amount of time we had passengers off. So I don't know how long the children were on board.
Jason with Channel 13, any idea when moving this might actually be a reality, or is it too hard to say?
It's way too early to say. We're optimistic. We're planning for it. But right now, again, we don't know what the condition is below decks. And that's where we're going to have to that's where our biggest challenge lies. That's the engine room. And that's where points of water ingress would be and any other damage we need to address before we safely move her.
And this may be for Mr. Smith. Have you guys determined, and maybe it might go without saying, but is there anything salvageable? Is salvaging still like on the...
We'll take a look at that as we progress through this event, but more than likely the vessel will be a loss.
So, and a follow-up to that, a loss, and how do you deal with insurance for that? Is that something that's covered by insurance?
We're dealing
and
with
does
our...
that lead to hopefully another vessel coming down here?
So we're dealing with our insurance carriers as we speak. That's something we'll do internally. And we are actively looking for another vessel to come down here as soon as we can.
And you are considering this a loss?
Well, it looks that way.
We have time for one more question, if anybody has one last question.
How tough is it for you to look at that? I mean, this was 19...
So this vessel's been in service since 1992.
Yeah.
Spirit of Norfolk since 1978. Anytime that we lose a vessel, first priority is obviously safety of our crew and our passengers. But anytime we lose a vessel, obviously that's tough on our crew. It's tough on obviously the local folks. It's got a lot of history here, a lot of wonderful history, a lot of wonderful experiences and memories were created on that vessel. So we will endeavor to rebound from this in the local community, bring another vessel so we can continue to make amazing memories here in Norfolk.
And what shout out do you want to give to your crew?
For me, they acted exactly the way we trained them, very professionally. They did a wonderful job. All people were safe, and I applaud the efforts of our crew. From that perspective, they did a wonderful job.
Where were you when you first heard there was
Thank
a
you.
situation, and what did
That's
you
all the
think?
time we have for today. Thank you so much. Sorry.